it's important that we understand, at least at a very basic level, why we think the way we think and what some of the repercussions are of the way we think, and some of the things that we can do to reverse the damaging habits that we have. And today we're going to simply talk about clarity. The starting point of all success is clarity. All successful people, what I've seen, right, all have this in common. They're super, super clear on the things that they want. We as human beings, we are goal-seeking organisms. We only function at our very best when we're working towards something that's important to us, right? That's the only time we function at our best, right? Whether it be, say there's a girl or a guy, right? Before we were married, right? Like there's, somebody that you jocked or somebody that you were kind of vibing with, right? That's important to you, right? Because there's a person that you can see yourself, getting into a serious relationship with. And so in pursuit of that, what do you do when you're on your date? You're literally in your best form, right? You're trying to present your best self possible, right? We only function at our very best when we're working towards something that's super important to us. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. There's this story of a hunter who just didn't want to put forth the time and effort and due diligence to kind of learn the environment, just the terrain, kind of where they would be and all that stuff. Instead, he was just going around, just shooting randomly, boom, 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 in the forest and thinking like, hey, man, I hope something good runs into that one, right? Versus, doing the work and being efficient with your efforts, right? That's how a lot of us live our lives. We just kind of just put it out there and hope for the best instead of getting dialed in specific with what we want, right? As it's been said, if you don't have clear, specific goals for your life, you are doomed to work for the people that do, right? And that's really just how, and why the Pareto's example is what it is, the 80-20 rule, right? Why 20% of people make 80% of the sales, right? And that goes across the board, whether for real estate or any kind of sales industry. Next, be decisive, right? We all have a tendency to be indecisive. I want to go a little bit into why we hesitate. What are some of those subconscious fears that we have that cause us to hesitate? Develop the character and quality of decisiveness, and we are usually indecisive because we don't want to make a mistake, and the habit of indecision will rob you of all the opportunities you need to achieve your goals. 80% of the decisions that should be made the very first time that comes to mind. And it's easy to make decisions when you know what it is you want to accomplish. So again, see how everything's tying in? When you don't have clarity and you don't have a goal, that's why we hesitate, that's why we're indecisive, and so it all starts with being super clear on what you want, and everything kind of follows suit. Does that make sense? Have a vision, be a dreamer, and dream big. Otherwise what? If you don't, then what? Nothing excites you, and then we wonder why the hell life isn't exciting, right? Because we're not dreaming big enough. The best way to predict your future is what? To create it, right? What we don't realize is that we are dreaming and envisioning things all the time. Perfect example, when we were kids walking around, kind of doing kid stuff, right? We had a dream and a vision that one day we would grow up and we'd be able to drive ourselves around in a car, right? That was our vision as a kid. That's as big as we could dream, right? And then by the time that happened, then what? Then we eventually had a vision of having our own home, of having our own families, right? And then that happens, right? And then we have a vision of traveling, right? And then that happens, right? So what we don't understand, or what we fail to realize, is that we actually achieve our goals and our visions. We just set those expectations way too low. So that when we even when we do achieve them, it doesn't pump us up, it doesn't ignite us, it doesn't excite you. Does that make sense? On to the next point. Focus on results, not the activities. Be clear on the results you're trying to accomplish. All high performers are results-oriented, right? There is a strategic thinker by the name of Ben Trigo. I don't know if you've seen or read anything about him, but he says that the very worst thing in the world is to do very efficiently what need not be done at all, right? And so what does that mean? To spend so much time and effort in doing something that doesn't contribute to your major goal, right? Mistaking movement for achievement, especially in real estate. We all make the mistake of thinking, shuffling through notes, reading through sales literature, script books, follow-up emails, browsing the MLS. We think this is all part of selling. But we also know that it's not at all. Selling is when you're face-to-face, when you're belly-to-belly, or at the very least when you have a live person on the phone who is ready, willing, and able to utilize your services. That's what selling is. Everything else besides that is what? It's self-delusion is really what it is, right? It's just us getting ourselves to think we're working. So we need to ask ourselves every day, like, what results are expected of me, right? But more importantly, what results do I expect of myself? right? And so in this business, the only results that we have to show for are what? Sales. That's it. So the only time we are working then, right, is when we are doing something that directly contributes to that result. So then why do we do the other things? The 80% or whatever percent, the majority of things that don't matter. Why do we do these things? And the answer is simple, because they are fun and easy rather than hard and necessary. And I'm sure you guys have heard this before. We want that short-term gain. We don't care about the long-term pain, right? Instead of thinking the short-term pain for the long-term gain, right? One of the biggest reasons why people fail in life is because of the, as I just discussed, the short-term gain, the expediency factor. And that we always take the fastest and easiest route to get what we want. That's why we fail. Where's the shortcut? How can I do this faster? Right? Not how can I do it better, but how can I do it faster? That's usually the question we ask ourselves. We do what is fun and easy today instead of doing what's hard and necessary, only end up having to do what's hard and necessary at the end of our lives when it's way too freaking late. And that's a shitty feeling. So what is it going to take then? It's discipline, right? Discipline is simply doing the things that only contribute directly to the result you're trying to accomplish. Next, talk, walk, and act with clarity. This, in a business where we're doing a lot of talking to other people and we're doing a lot of communicating, essentially we get paid to talk. That's what we're doing, right? Get straight to the point. Don't beat around the bush because it'll waste everybody's time, especially yours. One of the reasons why people fail to speak straight to the point is because of the fear of offending others, right? That's why we beat around the bush. A study was done where they took a group of executives and they asked them all, if you all had to tell somebody something unfortunate, regarding their career that would affect their lives, like, how would you tell them? And they all proceeded to share how they would ease their way into the conversation, right, by discussing topics and subjects they have in common, closing the door, keeping the noise out, kind of just soften the blow, right? So they went around the room and they were all circuitous routes of how to get to the point versus straight on. Then they reversed the question and asked each of these executives, how would you want this same subject communicated to you? And every single one of them said, just straight to the point. I want it straight to the point. I don't want people to beat around the bush. We all prefer to be communicated with in a straightforward manner, right? It's just that for some weird reason or another, we just think that other people can't take it. But we can. So we end up tiptoeing around the subject for longer than we need to, and then we make the situation even worse. Can you guys kind of relate to that? I feel like this is really, pertinent to like just relationships in general. Right? So be clear in your language and clear in your actions. Let people know exactly what you said and let them know exactly what you meant by what you said. Okay? No beating around the bush. You hate it when people beat around the bush with you, so don't do it to other people. Get straight to the point. Lastly, every single one of these habit patterns have to be learned by practice. Just as any other skill, just like confidence is a skill. It's not a personality trait, right? You should have seen me as a kid, all through high school. But it's a skill, and I practiced it. I committed myself to practicing to becoming confident. And for me, it all started with just being super clear on the things that I wanted to be, do, and have. Competence is critical. You need to be good at what you do, or otherwise people aren't going to work with you. You need to be competent in your field. And more than competent, we need to strive for excellence in our field. The commitment to becoming excellent in your chosen field is an indispensable prerequisite for success. Which basically means what? If you aren't good at what you do, you ain't got a snowball's chance in hell. Straight up. So how do we become excellent? I really hope that we can get super clear on what we want for 2020. And I just hope that these discussions and these epiphanies and these realizations don't end here. That we actually take them and apply them. Without application, it's just total waste of time for everybody. The reason why I want to put so much emphasis on this is that we understand how our minds work, because without that kind of understanding, without that level of understanding, we don't know how to counteract it, right? We wouldn't know how to replace those habits. I want these conversations to be, yes, convicting, right? But also just, I wanted to pump you guys up. Because even when I was writing this last night and Saturday night, I was pumped up. This is the shit right here that's going to get us to where we need to go in 2020. As long as we all collectively make that commitment to becoming super excellent at what we do and super clear on what we want. Cool?